I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there, Price of Reason here with a series review. Anybody that follows this channel knows that I haven't exactly been pleased with Doctor Who's 60th anniversary specials until now. In 2021, when it was initially announced that former Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies would return to the franchise, along with David Tennant's 10th Doctor, many fans, myself included, had hoped that he would use this opportunity to correct the mistakes of his predecessor. Unfortunately, it seems like Davies was actually keen on embracing the very issues that nearly got the series cancelled to begin with. In addition, it turns out that he only brought back David Tennant for these 3 episodes to try and lure back fans, while also pushing an agenda that may or may not have something to do with Disney now financially backing the show. That's why in special number 1, The Star Beast, we learned that David Tennant's Doctor was inferior to both women and people who were more than meets the eye. And in special number 2, we learned that Sir Isaac Newton was actually from India and that the Doctor was fond of dudes. Still, maybe some people were hoping that at least this final special would be an improvement, that as much as Russell T Davies had become annoying, preachy, arrogant, and rude in recent years, that perhaps this 3rd special would be more targeted for actual Doctor Who fans. And now that I've seen it, there's only one question. Is this special any good? In this video, I will discuss the general plot of special number 3, titled The Giggle, what I didn't like about the episode, what I liked about the episode, followed by my official score. The episode starts off in Soho, London, 1925, where we see the return of the Toymaker, last seen on the show in 1966 during the William Hartnell era, now played by Neil Patrick Harris. The Toymaker is in his own toy store where he speaks with a fake German accent, sells toys, and also acts like an istanophobe towards a fictitious diverse man that works for the real-life historical figure, Scottish inventor John Logie Baird. Why is the Toymaker suddenly acting like a German istanophobe when he wasn't this way in the past? Well, thanks to independent journalist John the White, who sent me some more information about this, I learned that this is because Doctor Who's showrunner, Russell T Davies, wanted to correct what he perceived as the Doctor Who franchise's problematic past. You see, according to Davies, in the 1960s, the original Toymaker wore a robe that looked Chinese, so he was culturally appropriating something that wasn't his, and the only way to acknowledge his istophobia within the franchise was to make him an istanophobe. Now, just my 2 cents here. In 1966, the Toymaker character wearing a robe that looked somewhat Chinese doesn't mean that the show or the character was trying to culturally appropriate anything, and all this babbling from showrunner Russell T Davies only tells me one thing, that once again, he seems to be obsessed with messaging, propaganda, and identity politics rather than telling a good story. Anyhow, the man at the store buys Stooky Bill, a ventriloquist dummy, which in real life John Logie Baird used as the subject of the first television transmission ever. When the Toymaker learns who and what the doll is being bought for, he seems very excited. Next, we see a recreation of the first television transmission, and due to the heat, the Stooky Bill doll catches fire as we hear a faint little giggle in the background. In present day, the Doctor is walking around the streets, which are in chaos, when he sees a guy that looks like he's going to run into traffic. The Doctor tries to stop him, and the guy then tells him that a few days ago everybody started thinking that they were right all the time. This made people angry and stubborn, much like Doctor Who's showrunner Russell T Davies, and then everything went to shit. The Doctor then runs into the Toymaker, who speaks with a French accent, but he doesn't recognize him. The Toymaker tries to dance with the Doctor for some reason, and then UNIT arrives to take the Doctor away with them. Next thing you know, the UNIT helicopters are flying with the TARDIS in tow. This kind of reminds me of something we saw in the 50th anniversary special when the TARDIS is flown by a helicopter, but that episode was actually cool, and this one is kind of shit. Unit Girl Boss from special number 1 greets the Doctor and Donna, and her boss, Kate Lethbridge Stewart, the daughter of the late Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, shows up and hugs the Doctor. You know, I've never minded that they continued the Brigadier's legacy with this actress and this character, but along with Donna and the arrival of 80s era companion Mel here, there's so many ladies surrounding the Doctor right now that it's starting to feel like a congregation of girl bosses, much different than the days of Pertwee's Doctor working alongside the Brigadier, Captain Yates, and Sergeant Benton, and back then, it did have a more masculine feel to it. And while Russell T Davies did try to introduce a new male unit character called Colonel Ibrahim into the mix, gimmicks, but given that he has almost no dialogue during this episode, I can't help but feel that he was only put in here to check off some type of box. Anyhow, Kate Lethbridge-Stewart says that people are going mad because their brains are being altered, and it's causing deaths as it spreads all over the place, and the only reason these unit guys are able to bypass it is that they have some special bracelet mechanism that neutralizes their brainwaves and flattens the spike. Kate Lethbridge-Stewart shows the Doctor a demonstration of how her brainwaves are affected if she removes the bracelet, because when it's off, she starts acting very rude and condescending, much like Doctor Who's showrunner, Russell T Davies. While under this negative influence, Kate tells Unit Girl Boss in wheelchair that earlier she saw her walking around and she didn't believe she really needed a wheelchair. Now, to be fair, I don't know what this says about me, but I also thought I saw her walking, so I guess that makes me a paranoid, crazy weirdo too, at least according to this show. Vlinks the robot then explains that the change in human behavior is being triggered within the brain. Then we see some news lady on TV that's speaking out against the contraption that neutralizes the problem, making this episode seem like an allegory for the strange and unexpected international illness that we've seen in recent years. At this point, Donna thinks that the brainwaves resemble a musical phrase which conveniently connects them with Stooky Bill, John Logie Baird's first television transmission as we saw in the opening. The Doctor then believes that the first image ever shown on television has brainwashed all viewers to this day, as it contains a type of hidden message, much like the messages inserted into the program by showrunner Russell T Davies. The Doctor then tells Kate to use the galvanic beam to destroy a South Korean satellite. The Doctor and Donna then travel to Soho 1925. As they walk towards the Toymaker store, Donna tells the Doctor that his old face has returned because he needs a rest or something, even though we all know it's because the Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall era chased all the viewers away, and bringing back Tennant was an act of desperation. The Doctor and Donna find the Toymaker, who's juggling balls, and as the Doctor recognizes him, he has a quick flashback of William Hartnell and the original Toymaker. Remember William Hartnell?
Oh, hi, Mimi.
The Toymaker ends up trapping the Doctor and Donna in some hallway where they talk about their feelings. Again. The Doctor is a sad, miserable bum, and he seems broken for some reason. At some point they separate, and the Doctor encounters the assistant of John Logie Baird, who is now some type of puppet controlled by the Toymaker. A scene that could have looked pretty cool if not for the suspiciously dodgy CGI. Seriously, I've seen some better CGI here at Price of Reason Studios, and we certainly don't have access to those type of Disney budgets. Donna gets locked in a room with Stooky Sue and Stooky baby dolls who attack her, and she beats them up. This scene actually does look pretty cool, and Catherine Tate does a good job of delivering it. The Toymaker then puts on a puppet show for the Doctor and Donna, showing the fate of the Doctor's previous companions, Amy Pond, Clara, and Bill, in an attempt to guilt-trip him. Then he talks about flux, which means that Russell T Davies is tripling down on the poorly received Jodie and Chibs era, so the Doctor challenges the Toymaker to a card game. The Toymaker nonchalantly mentions that the Master is now trapped in his gold tooth because he also lost a game at some point. I wonder if that'll be relevant for later on. The Doctor loses the card game, but since historically he has once won the Toymaker in the past, they agree to a best out of 3 game in 2023. Meanwhile, Unit uses the galvanic beam to destroy the satellite, and now it also turns out that both Mel and Donna are the best computer programmers of all time. Then, the Toymaker shows up at Unit and dances very flamboyantly, as if he were in a Broadway musical or something, which is fine if you're into that sort of thing, I guess. Anyhow, Unit soldiers try to open fire on the Toymaker, but he transforms their bullet into roses and completely neutralizes them as he takes control of the galvanic beam. He then starts shooting the galvanic beam at people and at the Unit building. But wouldn't this type of beam that just destroyed a satellite cause a lot more damage than what we're seeing here? Yeah, don't think about it. Anyhow, the Toymaker ends up shooting the Doctor with a beam which goes right through him and does no damage to the roof. Again. Now typically, this would cause the Doctor to regenerate, and it would be the production's opportunity to introduce the new actor portraying the Doctor. But in this case, and what has to be one of the low points ever for this entire franchise, the Doctor splits up into 2 Doctors in what is now being called bi-generation. Not only is this entire farce both dumb and pathetic, the CGI somehow looks awfully cheap too, even with Disney's money. Again. Anyhow, there's 2 Doctors now, and they stare at each other in a way that seems awfully, affectionate? And the new Doctor is in his underwear, which he will continue to be wearing until the end of this episode. Why is the new Doctor only wearing underwear throughout this entire episode? You'll have to ask showrunner Russell T Davies about that. Anyhow, we then have some cringe moments with Mel telling the new doctor how beautiful he is and Donna talking about how the doctor comes in a range of colors now. Both doctors now face the Toymaker in a game of balls as they manage to win, even though the roof of the building wasn't exactly the most logical place to play catch, but whatever. After they beat him, the Toymaker is banished from existence forever, and he folds into a box like a piece of cardboard. The 10th Doctor feels guilty about people dying, so the new Doctor tells him that it's not his fault and then starts hugging and kissing him in a very affectionate way while standing around in his underwear. And it turns out that the tooth with the master in it has fallen on the roof and a female hand picks it up. Anyhow, at this point, the 10th Doctor shows the Underwear Doctor around the TARDIS. But then the Underwear Doctor and Donna tell the 10th Doctor how miserable he is and how he has no more energy and that maybe it's time for him to settle down on Earth while this new Underwear Doctor forges a new path. Then they both bring up some franchise member berries, and in order for the 10th Doctor to still have his own TARDIS while effectively retiring on Earth, the Underwear Doctor splits the TARDIS in two with his big, hammer? Then we have a Vin Diesel Fast and Furious style final scene where the Doctor acknowledges his Earth family, including Donna, her husband, Rose, Mel, and Wilf, who is missing from this scene, likely because of the passing of actor Bernard Cribbins between the filming of specials 2 and 3. In one final shot, we see the Underwear Doctor in the TARDIS, and this ridiculous special finally ends. Now let's discuss what I didn't like about this episode. For starters, it was rather uneventful. If you recall, the 50th anniversary special had Matt Smith and David Tennant team up for an exciting, fun, and interesting event that even featured an appearance from Tom Baker himself. It was everything that these 3 60th anniversary specials were not, as they felt too generic, bland, and filler to be considered a true celebration, and that's regardless of their relentless agenda peddling, which is a separate problem in and of itself. And while it would have been nice to see an actual return of the Toymaker, I really don't like what they've done with his character in this episode. This is also a shame because Neil Patrick Harris is a good actor that can do a variety of roles. With a more nuanced and less flamboyantly written character, I'm sure Harris would have given a much better performance here. In addition, I'm not really sure what to think about Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, at least going by what I've seen in this episode. Every scene he's in, he acts as though he's appearing in a naughty, late-night movie, and I don't think that vibe works for the character of the Doctor at all. I obviously also disliked the whole bi-generation idea. In the past, the regeneration had meaning as a special event, as it was something final, but now that's all pretty much meaningless. The 10th Doctor returning just to produce another Doctor, like a gremlin exposed to water. It just cheapens everything in this franchise even further, if that were even possible at this point. I usually try to find some good things to say in addition to the bad ones, but I think all I can really say here is that most of the cast in all 3 episodes, led by David Tennant and Catherine Tate, were very good, but they just weren't given very good material to work with, so their work goes largely unnoticed. After watching these 3 60th anniversary specials, I think it's fair to say that they were a major disappointment. They continue to water down the mythology and lore of the show, while further tarnishing its own legacy. Many people, myself included, keep saying RIP Doctor Who, and this is true, but after watching these 3 specials, it's pretty clear that this franchise already died in 2017 during Peter Capaldi's final episode. I'd like to think that canonically, that was the end of Doctor Who, that anything that came after that was just a bad dream the 12th Doctor was having as he was fading away amongst the stars. If I had to give this episode a score, I would give it a 20 out of 100. Which means that it's a fail. What did you think about Doctor Who's Bi-Generation special? Did you love it? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, and also clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. Brum.